Yo, what is up everybody? It's Out of Order and welcome to the editing and designing tutorials. This is a series where I teach you guys from everything from GFX to editing and VFX and motion design and basically everything in between. So in this tutorial I'm going to be teaching you guys how to make a header or a banner, like a YouTube banner, a Twitter header, or like a Twitch header, or basically just a header. So I'm going to be using Photoshop tutorial. This is going to be CC 2018, but CC 2019 and pretty much most of the older versions will work too, so yeah. Alright, so I'm in Photoshop and basically you're going to want to create a new project, a new document. This varies completely. This is different on every platform you're using, so if you're making a Twitter header it's going to be different from a YouTube banner. But I'm going to be making a Twitter header. So for the resolution you want to use for a Twitter header is 4096 pixels by 1365 pixels. And if you're going to be using if you're going to be making a YouTube banner, you're going to be wanting to use 2560 by 1440. Anyway, so once you create your document, you're going to have a blank little, just basically a blank little canvas. And yeah, let's just get right into this. So the first thing you're going to want to do is find a background image. What I'm trying to try and do for this tutorial is I'm going to be trying to make like a night sky, something like a night sky header. So yeah, I found this background image. This is the one I'm going to be using. You guys can use your own image, but yeah, so once you get your background in, you're going to want to add, what I like to do first is add the title or the name basically. So I'm just going to put tutorial, and then you can change the font to whatever. So this font looks pretty nice, so I'm just gonna move this to the center and it should snap automatically. If it doesn't, here's what you're gonna want to do. If it doesn't snap automatically, you're gonna want to select your background and the one that you're trying to center. Go to image, or no, not image, you're gonna go to layer and then just align horizontal centers and vertical centers, and it should make it centered. So there we go. Alright, now the next thing I like to do is work on the background. So you can blur the background. Sometimes I do this, sometimes I don't. But yeah, this is what I mean by that. Just blur it a little or something like that. I don't like using the Gaussian blur. I prefer using the lens blur. But sometimes it's not available, as you can see right here. But lens blur just looks a whole lot better, honestly, in my opinion. Anyway, so I'm not going to be blurring my image. And so yeah, next thing I want to do is just going to want to add elements. I'm thinking of adding like an ocean and like maybe some like floating islands or something like that. So you're just going to look on Google Images and find a picture of an ocean. This is the one I found. You're just going to make it bigger like that, and then bring it down a little bit like this. There we go. And then next thing I like to do is to just cut this part off right here. Doesn't have to be perfect, just make sure you erase part of it off and then just go like that basically. Or you can just use the little selector tool and just select it and then press delete. Either one works. And you'll notice that most of the time the images don't blend well. Like as you can see right here, this just doesn't look like it blends at all. So go to adjustments, brightness and contrast, and then just mess around with the setting until you get something that looks like somewhat accurate. You can also get your eraser again, and then this time just like do a softer brush like that maybe, and then that looks a lot better. And so once you get your elements in, like basically what I'm doing, you're just going to keep doing this over and over again. So here's a picture of a floating island I found. I'm just gonna put it like right here to the side maybe. You can also make it bigger. You know what, let's do that instead. Let's make it bigger like this. And as you guys can see, it doesn't really look that color accurate. Like just like this just doesn't look that nice. So what I like to do is duplicate it, get rid of the bottom one, and then just like increase your brush size. Make sure you're using a soft brush. Actually no, I was wrong. No, use a hard brush first and then use a soft brush. So you're just going to go like this kind of, and then use like a soft brush little like this maybe. And so once you do that, then you can change the hue of it, make it like a brown. And if you can't get a brown, then you go to blending options and then go to color overlay and then select the brown like this. And then once you get the brown, you just want to scrub through this until you find a blending mode that you like. So I like this one right here. Maybe not as strong, so you lower the opacity on it like that maybe. And then bring the bottom one back, and then it looks a lot better like that. And so yeah, that's how we do that. And then you're just going to hold shift on your keyboard, select both of them, and then just merge layers, and then you'll merge the two. And you'll probably notice that this still does not look color accurate at all. So make sure you bring down the brightness, and then go back into blending options by right clicking on this blending options at the top, and then you're gonna want to go to color overlay, and then just select like, just use the eyedropper tool and then select like the background, and then just scrub through these until you find something that you like. The one I use the most is a hard light. That's the one I like to use. And then if that still doesn't look that accurate, then you go to adjustments, hue and saturation, and then just mess around with this, and then lower the saturation, and boom, there we go. Well, this looks a little too dark, so increase the brightness. And you're just gonna want to keep doing basically what I'm doing right now. So I got the floating island done. You're just gonna want to add more elements into it, just like this stupid palm tree right here. I know it looks really dumb and ridiculous, but I'm just gonna do it for tutorial's sake. Put a palm tree in your your little header, and then go back into blending options, select hard light. That's the one I always like to use, and then rasterize it, and boom, there you go. You got a palm tree in your little thing. So this is something a lot of people don't do, but I feel like more people should be doing, and that's adding shadows. So what you're gonna want to do, select your brush tool, make sure you're using a soft brush, make sure your color is black, and then you're just going to draw like the shadow of it. So like this kind of. Make sure you don't go over the edge like this, because that just looks unrealistic. And once you do that, then you want to go to soft light, and then lower the opacity on it. And for those hard edges on the side, you can get your eraser tool, make sure you're using a soft brush, and then just go like that. There you go. And so now you have a shadow on your little palm tree thing. And you're just going to repeat this process over and over again until you get something cool. Okay, so I did the same thing. I basically just added a few more stuff. So I added this bush here, and then I added a Pepsi snail. And as you can see, it's kind of starting to come together, kind of not. It still looks like pretty stupid. And so we're just gonna do the same thing, but what I like to do is duplicate some of the stuff. So like the island, we can duplicate this and move it somewhere else. Like maybe put one like over here maybe, and then just make it like this, I guess. Same with the Pepsi snail. I'm gonna duplicate the Pepsi snail, bring it over here, make it bigger, and then just like bop it down on there like this. And the way I'm moving objects again, by the way, is going to edit and then free transform or Control T. So there we go. We have a Pepsi snail and a nice little island over there. And we're gonna do the same thing I did earlier. We're gonna add the drop shadow. So to do that, you just want to go here, soft brush, and then just go make a drop shadow. And they should always face the same direction. So the shadow's facing going to the right. So you're gonna want to do that over here too. You're gonna want to make it go to the right. And then click on up here again, go to soft light, and lower this again, and you should get that. And a lot of people say that sometimes their shadow is still too hard. You're gonna want to basically just select your shadow layer, go to filter, blur, Gaussian blur, and then just blur it a little, just like that. So I'm just gonna keep doing this. I'm gonna select the island layer, duplicate, free transform, move it around, and I'm gonna put this one off in the distance, like let's say maybe like way over here. And then I'm just gonna duplicate the bush. So let's find the bush layer. You should name your things, by the way. I'm lazy and I don't really do it. So there's the bush thing. You just want to select them both, duplicate them, move them to the top, free transform, and oops, I didn't mean to do that at all. And then just go like over here maybe like this. And boom, you have a nice little island out in the distance. So I'm just gonna keep doing this, duplicate them again, select the island, of course. So where's the island at? Here it is, booing it up, duplicate all 3 of them. Actually, you can rasterize them too, by the way, or not rasterize, merge them. So select all the layers you want to merge. So I'm gonna merge this island over here, select them all, merge them, duplicate it, and then move it somewhere else. Okay, so it kind of looks nice, kind of doesn't. You're probably wondering, like, where do we get to the fun part? Where do we get to the fun stuff where it starts coming together and actually blends together? So that's gonna be now. Once you have everything you want sorted out, let me add a few more stuff. Another thing I like to do is add some more nature stuff, but in the foreground this time. So for an example, I'm gonna add a big palm tree. You're gonna make this super giant. And make sure this is the first layer or the top layer, and then I just like to do like this kind of off in the distance, or actually no, off to the side I meant, and then go to the color overlay, select the background, and then just go make it darker like this. And then what I like to do is blur it, so it's kind of like, basically what I'm trying to do is make some depth. So I want this to be in focus, this not to be in focus, these two and these islands over there to also not be in focus. So let's do that right now. Select this island, blur it a little, just a little bit, a little blur, little goes a long way. This island over here, select it, blur it a little, and that's basically that. I can also duplicate this and make this over here like this, kind of like that. And then there we go. We have our nice little header thing almost coming together. Same with vines. You can do the same thing with vines. Like put some vines at the top, up there at the top. Make sure they're front layer. Blending options, color overlay. Do that, and then just like blur it a little bit. And yeah, you're just gonna want to keep adding as many elements as you can until eventually your thing's coming together. I probably won't be doing as much because this is just for a tutorial, and I don't want to spend like 3 hours making one, so yeah. And lastly, my favorite thing to add into these type of like headers are birds. So we're gonna add some birds. Make sure these are above everything as well, and just gonna add the good old color overlay. So it looks like that. Rasterize it, and this still looks a little too bright for my liking, so I'll turn down the brightness a little. And this part right here, this is where it gets a little interesting. Go to blur for birds or anything in motion. So if you're adding planes or birds or like an animal that's running, or I don't know, stuff like that, you're gonna add motion blur, and you want to make sure that this angle matches where the birds are going. So they're going like this kind of angle. You want to make it look like that, and you don't need to super blur it, but a little blur like this right here would look nice. And so yeah, we got that. Alright, so I think I'm done here. Obviously there's nowhere near as much stuff as I usually add. There's barely anything really. The reason is because, you know, I'm trying to keep this short. I made this, and this probably took like, I don't know, maybe 25 minutes to make. Usually I would spend like a couple hours doing this and just keep adding as much stuff as possible. But for tutorial's sake, we're gonna be done. So next thing I like to do is the text. That's the word I'm looking for. So for the text, I like to add blending options on this, and then I just like to pick the darkest color but make it super saturated, so I think that's pretty dark. And then you also want to have a light color that's also pretty saturated, like this kind of, maybe not that much, maybe like that, and reverse it, make it like this. I like to have the darkers at the bottom and the light colors at the top. And once you do that, hit OK, click it, rasterize it, and you'll have your text, and it won't be editable anymore. You can't title it anymore. See, if I try to change it, it's not gonna work. But the reason I'm doing this is because if you click blending options again, and this time you go to drop shadow, bring the opacity all the way up, lower the size all the way down, and then move the distance down at a 90-degree angle, it'll make it look 3D. So we do that, and we can add make the color kind of blend in with everything. So like this maybe will look nice, like that. And then once you do that, I like to rasterize it one last time, and once I do that, then add an inner shadow, and make this inner shadow have color dodge and make the color be white. And distance doesn't matter, choke doesn't really matter, size matters. That sounds weird saying that, but in this instance it does. So you want to mess around with this, and same with the opacity, mess around with the opacity. So I think that looks nice. And then once we do that, rasterize it one last time, and then this time we can add a drop shadow, but this time we can bring the distance all the way down and mess around with the size and opacity. So size like that kind of, and then opacity like that. And you can make it whatever color you want. If you want it to glow, if you want it to just be a shadow, I prefer it just being a shadow. So boom, we got it like that. And at this point you could say you're done, you could call it a done, but honestly this just looks too whack for me. So if you think it's done, you can save it, put it as your thing, whatever, you know, do your thing, just make it your header. But I'm not done. I'm gonna select everything there is on here, rasterize all of it, so it basically just makes it so that basically if you send this project file to someone else, they'll be able to, it'll work properly, simplest way to put it. And now that we've done that, we're gonna get onto the color correcting part. So to color correct, you'll see this little, looks like a yin and yang symbol. Click on that, and this is where you can mess around with the exposure. Now to edit the exposure, you're gonna want to click this yin and yang symbol, and this is where you can mess around with a lot of this stuff, brighten it up. If you want more like contrast, you can do that, except that's not really a good way to do contrast. And what I like to do is just make it a lot brighter, because, and you can also change it through doing that. Oh, wrong way. 1, put that to 0, and I think that looks nice, so I'm gonna keep that. And next thing you want to do is mess around with curves, and you could just make it so that the whites aren't that bright, so like this kind of, you know, see, that looks better. And then make it like an S curve, like an S shape, so that there's more contrast than darks and more light areas. So basically like this, and then you can just increase this whole thing to brighten up the whole image like this kind of. And so that looks kind of nice like this. I think it looks better like this. And now that it's color corrected, next thing I like to do is I like to select everything, duplicate it, and this might lag your PC. Select everything, duplicate it, and then merge it. So just click on merge. Oops, I forgot to select the background that first time. So select everything, merge it, and you'll have a copy of everything. Basically, it's saved onto one image, and this is where things get complicated. So I like to add diffusion. A lot of people don't know what diffusion is. Basically, it just smoothens everything out. So to do that, once you select every single thing, right click, merge it, or no, you have to duplicate it first. So select everything, duplicate, then with the duplicated stuff selected, merge it, and then you'll get this right here. Once you do that, I like to brighten it up a little bit like this, and then I like to add a blur, like a really strong blur like this almost. And once you do that, you're gonna want to select your eraser tool with a soft brush, so like this maybe, and you're just going to add glow. So like make your like text glow, and your little Pepsi snail glow, and just like glows basically like at places you want them. So like this basically. Once you do that, lower the opacity and make sure the blending mode is set to screen, and if it still looks like it's the edges are too sharp, Gaussian blur it like that. And this is what it looks without it. This is what it looks with it. It looks a lot better in my opinion. Okay, so once you color correct it, once you add your diffusion, your curves, and your exposure, you're pretty much done, guys. Yeah, you're pretty much done here. But honestly, as it looks a lot better with this. All right, don't get me wrong, it looks a lot better. That's just the way to color correct it without any plugins or any other third-party stuff. But if you guys want it to look super good, like really better, you can just download custom color corrections online. So for an example, here's a custom color correction pack that I just downloaded right now. It's got presets, basically, like stuff like this, you know, if you want your header to look like that, or you want it green, or basically if you want more contrast like that, or if you want it red, that kind of looks cool, or purple, or basically just a little lighter, then you can find custom color correction stuff. But I honestly I don't like using these presets, because honestly they just don't really look that good in my opinion. They look better than no color correction, don't get me wrong, but it's better to color correct in Magic PhotoLooks, which will be in my next tutorial. In my next tutorial, I'll show you guys how to color correct using Magic PhotoLooks. It's a lot better in my opinion. It'll just look so much better. But for now, if this is for beginners, this is a beginner's tutorial. So for beginners, you're gonna want to download custom color corrections. I'll leave this pack right here in the template. By the way, you guys can go download basically everything I used in this video. I'll include the project file, I'll include all these images that I used over here, even the background and everything. But yeah guys, that's the end of the tutorial. If you enjoyed it, leave a like, subscribe if you're new here. I'm gonna be making more tutorials in the future, like editing tutorials, like how to do motion tracking. Even though I already made one, I'll probably make a new one. I'll also make videos on how to color correct using Magic PhotoLooks, and I'll also make videos on making other types of headers, like if you want like more like retro style headers or stuff like that, then I'll have tutorials on them soon. So subscribe if you want to see those, and subscribe if this helped you out in any way. But I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any comments, leave them down into this comment section. I'll try and help you out best I possibly can if you're having an issue, or if you have any questions, then yeah, join my editing Discord too. My editing Discord and design Discord are in the description. But yeah guys, hopefully you joined. I'm out. Later dudes.